Psychology of human behavior. Why people do what they do and why they don't know it. Why do people hurt the ones they love and protect the ones who don't care? Why do intelligent people make self-destructive choices again and again? Why do humans lie, not just to others, but to themselves? What if I told you most human behavior is not conscious, that you are not as logical as you think, that your decisions were shaped long before you ever made them, and that behind almost every action is fear pretending to be something else? This is not motivation. This is not self-help. This is the psychology of human behavior. The part no one wants to look at, because once you see it, you can never unsee it. The psychology of human behavior. Why humans act the way they do. The biggest lie we believe about ourselves. Let's start with a belief you've been taught since childhood, that humans are rational beings, that we think, then decide, then act. Psychology tells us something disturbing. Most of the time it happens in reverse. We act first. Then we create reasons that sound logical. This is called post-rationalization. The split brain study. In the 1960s, neuroscientists studied patients whose brains were surgically split to treat epilepsy. They showed an image to one side of the brain and asked the person to explain why they reacted. The reaction happened, but the explanation was completely made up. The mind didn't say, "I don't know." It created a story. Pause. This is terrifying because it means the human brain would rather lie than admit uncertainty. Your confidence in your reasons does not mean they are true. Survival wearing a human mask. If humans aren't logical, what drives behavior? The answer is ancient. Survival. But survival no longer looks like fighting animals or finding food. Modern survival looks like protecting your image, avoiding shame, securing status, being accepted, not feeling invisible. Let me say this clearly. People don't act good or bad. They act safe. Real life example. Think about the person who constantly seeks attention. They post, they talk, they perform. You call it ego. Psychology calls it fear of invisibility. Or the person who stays silent in arguments. You call them calm. Psychology often calls it learned danger. Because speaking once led to punishment. Every behavior once protected something. Ego, the invisible hand. Ego is misunderstood. It's not arrogance. Ego is the story you tell yourself about who you are. Strong, independent, nice, smart, victim, leader. And your mind will protect that story even if it destroys your life. In a famous study, people were paid $1 or $20 to lie. The people paid less believed their own lie more. Why? Because the mind hates internal conflict. If behavior and identity clash, identity bends. This is why people defend harmful behavior instead of changing it. Emotional memory controls you. You don't remember facts, you remember feelings. That's why one insult lasts longer than 10 compliments. That's why trauma shapes personality, and that's why people repeat painful relationships. Real life example. A child ignored emotionally grows up chasing emotionally unavailable partners. Not because they enjoy pain, but because familiarity feels like safety. The brain doesn't seek happiness, it seeks predictability. Fear, the language of behavior. Anger is fear with armor. Control is fear pretending to be strength. People who dominate often fear being powerless. People who detach often fear being dependent. Once you see fear beneath behavior, judgment fades. Understanding begins. Attachment, your invisible blueprint. Your first relationships taught you what love feels like. Whether it stays, whether it hurts and you didn't forget, you repeated it. Experiment, the strange situation. Children show distinct attachment patterns. Those patterns follow people into adulthood. Closeness, distance, anxiety, avoidance. Love isn't chosen, it's remembered. Power, status, and silent games. Humans never stopped playing hierarchy games. They just got quieter. Who texts first? Who cares less? Who has leverage? Most power struggles are not about control. They're about not feeling inferior. Why change feels impossible? People don't fear change. They fear identity death. To change behavior, you must grieve who you were, and grief is painful. So people stay stuck. Self-awareness, the final skill. Most people observe others. Few observe themselves. Self-awareness feels like weakness until you realize it's freedom. Humans are not broken. They are adapted. Every defense once protected something fragile. Psychology doesn't ask, "What's wrong with you?" It asks, "What happened to you?" And once you understand that, you no longer fear human behavior. You understand it. The unconscious, the real decision maker. Let's confront something uncomfortable. You like to believe you are in control, that your choices are deliberate, that your actions are intentional. But psychology reveals a disturbing truth. You are conscious of the decision only after it's already been made. Your unconscious mind decides first. Your conscious mind explains later. This isn't philosophy. This is neuroscience. Experiment. Libet's free will study. In the 1980s, neuroscientist Benjamin Libet ran an experiment. Participants were asked to move their finger whenever they wanted and note the moment they decided to move. Brain scans showed something shocking. The brain initiated the movement before the person became aware of the decision. Free will may not be what you think it is. You don't command behavior. You notice it. Habits. Automation in human form. Most of your day is not lived. It's replayed. You wake up the same way, react the same way, think the same thoughts. Habits exist to conserve energy. The brain is lazy by design. Every repeated behavior becomes automated. Not because it's good, but because it's familiar. Real life example. A person keeps checking their phone, not because they want to, but because silence feels uncomfortable. The behavior isn't addiction, it's avoidance. Trauma, when the past never leaves. Trauma is not the event. Trauma is what remains in the nervous system after the event is over. Your body remembers what your mind tries to forget. This is why people overreact to small things. Shut down emotionally, panic without knowing why the danger is gone, the reaction remains. Experiment. Little Albert. A child was conditioned to fear a harmless object. The fear remained long after the conditioning stopped. Human behavior works the same way. Unresolved emotional memory becomes personality. Defense mechanisms, psychological armor. The mind protects itself, not with truth, but with distortion. Defense mechanisms include denial projection, rationalization, minimization. They don't exist to deceive others. They exist to reduce inner pain. Real life example. A person who says, "I don't care," often cares the most. Indifference is sometimes grief in disguise. Shame, the invisible prison. Guilt says, "I did something bad." Shame says, "I am something bad." Shame doesn't change behavior. It freezes it. People hide, attack, or perform to escape the feeling of being fundamentally flawed.